Hello and welcome back to our series where we're looking through all of the parks from the Grand Tour, the competition that's going on over at New Element. We're doing round 6 today, and it's Chile. The parameters for this round are you've got to have a long ass coaster, the map has got to be elongated, much in the same way that Chile is, and it's got to be themed to Chile. So let's jump right in. This is Zarathustra and Jeff. Now I've been watching Jeff, and we're always excited to see more Jeff. So let's jump right in. First and foremost, we need to find a way to make these waves not make this chain lift sound, because that's all I can hear. The sea is broken down, so we'll find up here some standard wing coaster shit. What I would have done for this element here is extended it out. The thing we've got to remember is that in reality, these barrel roll elements aren't presented on a flat plane for the most part. They are given as the apexes of hills, so they aren't flat like that. They're presented as an arch because they want to exploit the airtime effectively at the top of a hill, the same way that this hill here is exploiting the airtime. Here it really rapidly flattens out from these steep elements to this flat element. I'm just gonna shut this and sort of just dick about for a minute. What I would always do is this. So this is obviously going to go too quick. The speed's going to be all right through that. Here, it feels much more like the apex of the hill. You can see how this one works a bit more effectively than the one that you have, because it's not like the top's been cut off and you've slapped the barrel roll on the top. It's as though it is part of the flow of the ride. Goodness, I can just imagine going under there. This is nice use of the hybrid track as well. With diagonal hills, you don't need to put the spacing in the same way that you do with the straight hills. This is because of the difference in scale between isometric hills and the diagonal hills. The diagonal hills are already enormous. I would personally just keep that flat. Do your diagonal. Back down. And that flat element gives you a bit more breathing room in that situation as well. What I do here as well, this is quite abrupt, so I'd always try and put a spacer in there. I believe it was this, wasn't it? Just to give that element a little bit of time to breathe. And what I do as well, we can't do it here, just because the way it's constructed. Actually, we might be able to. I would put a spacer there. You can see how that has just that little bit of extra maneuverability. It's not as abrupt. This isn't ideal either. I would have just done this. I'm just gonna go crazy and it's because it's got quarter tile landscaping. Not sure about this quarter tile landscaping, to be honest. You've hidden it underneath grass as well, so like, what was the point? So a skill that's important when building a Roller Coaster Tycoon is to understand where your efforts are best applied. Understanding where the effort should be put is an important part of any sort of like project management thing, which is why a good project manager can make all the difference in some situations. With this as well, seeing as we're just doing a complete rundown of this coaster, I'd move this loop back a bit. that ain't right. What's going on here? So here we've given this element a little bit more room to breathe. Again, what we'll do as well is we'll delete that. We'll delete this one as well. We'll start the bank here. Oh, that flow. So what that does is it gives us a bit more anticipation for that swoop up. We have the space. Why aren't we using it? Why are we going straight into that? Especially when we're going from such a high loop into such a comparatively low bank turn. Hopefully that's given a bit of insight into how to just push your ride designs just that next level, because needless to say, I wouldn't have bothered talking about any of this if there wasn't a lot of potential to work with. Obviously it's quite easy for me to come in at this point and go, oh, all you need to do is this, when you've done all the hard work already and sort of like formulating the idea for the ride. So 2 big thumbs up from me. There's lots to like here. I think we've overdone the empty grass and stuff. Architecture is nice and simple, straight to the point. Big thumbs up there. I love this structure here. I don't want to imagine being on this because I wouldn't enjoy it. It would be too scary for me. It looks gorgeous. Big thumbs up on that. Great utilization of hacks here as well. Fantastic work, guys. Really impressed, Jeff, as usual. Zarathustra, really glad to see some work from you as well. It's great to see new faces, at least to me. I'm sure that you're not new to the scene because this is all really high quality stuff. So glad to meet you. Alright, let's move on to the next park, which is Whispering Cliffs Valparaiso by Extreme, and in the manual, Tim himself. First and foremost, this is shit. This is incredibly good. This going up here is exactly what I want from Roller Coaster Tycoon, this sort of like infrastructure stuff that's integrated. This ride here is a great example using the environment to fantastic effect. It follows that there would be this kind of ride in this situation. Great little flat ride. I'd say this is a bit too dominant for what it is. Like, it's a flat ride. I don't know whether they would have shelled out to make this structure. They would for something like this. That's very thrilling and will bring people in. This sort of like octopusy lad, I don't think would have the same pull, and therefore I don't think would justify this kind of investment. I'm very, very interested in this role. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's watch it from the beginning. What's this? Is this based on something? Oh God, this is exactly the kind of thing that I want. It's dropping down. Coming around here, it's going around this space shot as you bloody would. In terms of composition, spot on, 10 out of 10. Same with this over here. Is this like a go-karts going around? That's gorgeous. I love how substantial the supports for this are. Oh goodness, this is brilliant. Oh, gorgeous. I feel a bit spoiled having opened this one up at this point in the game, because I feel like this is really going to be difficult to knock off the top spot for me. So let's move on to the next one, and we have Kai Bueno and Rob Didi with Astronomo. Oh, and me game's crashed. Very good. Cue the montage. Not responding. It's a labour of love opening Roller Coaster Tycoon nowadays. Crashed again. The game is so combative. This is worse than Fallout New Vegas, and that's saying something. See, it just did it. Kai, I've got to say, you as well as Jeff have been really showing us what for in this competition. I'm really glad that you've materialised. So straight off the bat, I feel like you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to go in and sort it out. I feel like maybe you misheard me, Kai. Go back and watch the video again. You've done it the opposite. The opposite of the way it should be. Or maybe you're going like, fuck you, in which case, 2 thumbs up to that. You should always be telling me to go fuck myself. Nice, fat airtime hill. Good stuff. Love the geyser. Love it. So don't put too much of your stuff underground. Yeah, because we want to see it. We want to see it. Simple as that. Oh, I love this. That's just nice. You know what I mean? It's just nice. Got like the salt flats. Lovely stuff. Hey, great job, guys. Everything that's here is simplistic, but competent. The coaster needs refinement, but all things do. I think that's the big takeaway from today is just coaster refinement, which I might go into more detail in these kind of videos. Now that I've covered a lot of the basics in talking about a lot of stuff. So it's a long ride. The long ride thing is difficult, and personally what I'd do is I'd pick a kind of coaster that is primed for that kind of thing. So for example, something like a mine train roller coaster would be good for that because it's very drawn out. The other thing I think of is I live in the UK. I live quite near Lightwater Valley, and there's a coaster called Ultimate there, which the Storm in Katie's Dreamland is based on. That enormous mine train roller coaster, the rambunctious mine train roller coaster, which always explodes, is based on that ride, and that's enormously long. Guys, we need to move away from this quarter-tile landscaping. I think, like I say, it's like a lot of effort, and I don't think the results are altogether worth it. I don't. It's not often I look at quarter-tile landscaping and go, that really helped. I feel like one of the great things about this game is the suspension of disbelief which comes with the landscaping options that we have available to us in the base game. It's quite limited, but in that, it gives us a lot of freedom to gesture towards concepts. And when we go into this quarter-tile landscaping, those gestures then become a lot more awkward. Feels like I'm zoomed out rather than looking at a more detailed thing. That probably makes no sense, just ignore me. Everybody, as you were. Great job, guys. Always a pleasure to see work from you guys. Kai, keep on bringing us imaginative and unique building. The site is definitely the richer for having you back. Keep it coming, dude. And now we've got Kenos back. And already I'm looking at it and I'm thinking I'm going to like this. Let's zoom in and have a look. Oh, a tangle of track. Blimey, what's going on here? Revoluta, equal rights. Yeah, no shit, dude. Amen to that. There are so many people in this part. This is a really nice little coaster. The underneath parts, boring. Feel like they need a bit more development, but that will come with time. What I would personally do is I'd manipulate the landscape to work more with what you have here, to make the landscape work for you as opposed to just be a backdrop. You want it to be, you want to be cracking the whip and going, get to work, buddy. Stop leaning against that bin and start helping out around here. I don't want to look at this, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. I feel like that's the equivalent, that's like my equivalent moment to that bit where Jules Holland pulls out Andy Summers' guitar jack when he's in the middle of playing guitar.
I think actually that's probably best left to James Brown, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think it is, yes.
But how about, in the meantime...
I hate clones of, especially that fucking SLC clone. You did a great job, man. You did a great job. I'm just sick of him. I don't want to look at another Batman the Ride clone. If there was a Batman the Ride invert, I would have deleted that as well. So this is just grass underneath here as well. I've got to do something crazy, Kenos. I'm going to make this brown. With the land texture, one of the great things it's useful for is using it to define what's going on above it. It's almost like a shadow. That's made it quite dark, so what we can do is we can lighten it a bit. This bit here, we want it to be lighter. Or this part around here, let's drop some of that. So we can kind of use these gestures to lend a bit more interest to what's going on. So if we do a bit of that, we can have some proper green grass over here. The land textures underneath are now supporting what's going on top. And by supporting, I mean everyone's reading from the same hymn sheet. The ride's up there, scenery objects over here, reading off the same hymn sheet, but the ground was just... Again, like over here, it was just leaning against the bin. Crack the whip, make the ground work for you. This ride, this spaghetti mess is absolutely lovely. It really works. The shapes are just brill. It needs a bit more development, obviously. All these rides do. Again, these buildings, really, really simple. But I'd really just admire the gestures. Like, you didn't mess about, you just went, alright, cool. We've executed that onto the next thing. I'm really, really, really interested to see what else you come out with, Kenos. All in all, fantastic work yet again, Kenos. I'm so excited to see what the next step is. This is a great development from your previous work. You've brought the scale down a lot, and that's allowed you to give a lot more attention to the things that matter. So like your compositions, this ride is way better than anything you had in the last one. A big thumbs up. Please keep bringing this unique perspective that you've been showing us. We've got Liam with Valparaiso. Can't wait to rip his ride apart and just really call him a dickhead. Netflix. What the hell? This is gorgeous around here. I don't know why you didn't bother giving this an interesting colour scheme, so I'm going to help you out a bit. There we go, that pops a little better. I can actually see the ride now. I love how there's these like gorgeous choices being made, like this cafe here, gorgeous. This here, stunning. Fantastic buildings. And then this is the ride station. You know, Liam, there's not anything wrong with this ride. It's really nice. I love this little element here. This is the Liam that we like and we love. All of these base ideas are just like... just want to eat them. Great job. Great job. So now we've got Mamarillas. That's what we like to see. Picture the scene. You click on Open Roller Coaster Tycoon and it opens first time and you get to play the game. Okay, it's opened and already I like what I do see. So this is a fantastic example of just taking an idea and just clocking it right out of the park. There's one thing on this map, enormous like tracker texture. That's what we know about Mamarillas, is that they are absolutely terrifying when it comes to these kind of things. I don't even know how one begins to formulate these kind of ideas, but I'm certainly glad that Mamarillas knows how. The ride's very charismatic, but I will say as well the same thing that I said in Liam's Park. It doesn't spark joy. It's not really telling me anything I don't already know. But these sculptures are telling me something I don't already know. I feel like that's the element that people really struggled with this round. If it didn't have that stipulation, I feel like a lot of these parks would be more charismatic. The only one that really ticked the box for me in that regard was Extreme and In the Manuals, with a wonderfully charismatic long form ride which feels like it should be like that. These feel a bit like, oh, we've got to hit that limit, we've got to do it. So 3 of them used cheetah hunt style rides, which are very long. They have multiple launches in them. And I feel like we just shouldn't have. They're difficult. They're really difficult because you just want to, when I'm building a ride, you're going element by element to try and make the most charismatic choices. And when you keep stacking them up one after the other, it's gonna start getting weaker and weaker. When you can go back to the station and you make a decision not to, that's a risk. Oftentimes those risks pay off, which is why we don't just go, all right, we're at the top of the hill, okay, better go back to the station. We don't want to like put in an element which is going to break the illusion of this being a real thing, or break the flow, or find ourselves in a corner that can't be solved within the confines of Roller Coaster Tycoon, which is why these long rides are so difficult, and I'm sure the guys building them will agree. So yeah, in future, if this is presented before you in a competition, open up Roller Coaster Tycoon database, start clicking random, see something that takes your fancy, find something off the beaten path that will spark joy. So yeah, everything's just love this. I feel like you've integrated it really well, but we're hamstrung by that ride thing. So fantastic work, Mamarillas. I'm so impressed by everything that's going. There's not been a single like bad park that I've looked at. They've all had something nourishing about them, whether it's a new novel idea or a new way of looking at the theme. Great work, everybody. I'm not going to stop congratulating you guys on such fantastic work. And we'll see you in the next round.